All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our virtual information session recording. Today, we are going to give you some great information about WPI, so thank you for tuning in. Let me introduce myself. My name is Emily Bucco. I'm one of the counselors that works here in the admissions office at WPI, and I'm looking forward to sharing this information with you. But before we get started, I'm going to let my co-presenter also introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is VJ. I am actually now a graduate of WPI. I just graduated from the Interactive Media and Game Development Department. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, home to Deep Dish Pizza and the Bean. And outside of working at admissions here on campus, I was also involved in the esports club as well as Greek life.
Fantastic. He's very busy. So, what we're going to do today, as you can see on our screen, we're going to cover a couple of key points in the next 40 minutes or so. We're going to talk to you about the WPI plan. I always like to say, if you don't remember anything else about WPI, hopefully the plan resonates with you. This is how we kind of deliver our curriculum and our academics to our students. And I say we, but VJ is going to do the heavy lifting there. We're then going to talk to you about campus resources. We're going to cover student life. And of course, I'm going to wrap up the session by talking to you all about admissions and financial aid. Now, before we get started, let's just again remember Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's in our name. A lot of students are usually looking at us for something in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We also have a fantastic business school and a lot of other majors to choose from. In fact, we have over 50 different degree programs. Now, at WPI, we are about 5,000 students undergraduate. We do have graduate and PhD programs as well, which is good for people to know. In terms of our degree programs, there's everything that you could possibly think of. A lot of people know us for engineering. We have north of 10 different varieties of engineering that our students can choose from. Maybe you're thinking something in the life sciences or biology. Well, we've got about 8 varieties of biology to choose from. Everything from computer science, data science, our business school, financial technology, interactive media game development, physics, mathematical sciences. The list goes on and on and on. And as you can see up here, our students are going to pick a major. They'll probably pick a concentration or a minor as well. And there's a lot of opportunity for our students to even pursue a bachelor's program while also pursuing a master's program. Maybe you do a bachelor's in 4 and you stay on for a 5th year to do a master's program. Our goal with you here at WPI is to promote exploration. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, I'm not 100% sure what I want to study when I get to WPI. That's okay. We have a lot of choices. We know it can be overwhelming. You'll notice about 20% of our students each year come into WPI undecided. And that's great. That gives them time to kind of decide what they want to do and do some exploration. What I like about WPI is when we admit a student to the institution, we do exactly that. You've been admitted to WPI. Any WPI student can pursue any WPI program they want. We do not admit to majors. So that really gives our students some flexibility right off the bat coming in to do some exploration. In your 4 years here as an undergraduate, as I mentioned, 5,000 undergraduates, we are predominantly an undergraduate institution. You're going to do a lot in those 4 years. You're going to pick a major, maybe 2 majors. Maybe you'll have a minor or concentration. Maybe you will pursue that master's program. You're also going to have an opportunity to do study abroad, which is great. You're also going to have opportunities for internships, maybe a co-op, all kinds of things that we're going to have you help you kind of fit into that 4 years that you're here, which is really exciting. And again, we really want you to do that exploration. One thing that is interesting about WPI, as you visit schools and learn more about different institutions, you might hear retention rate talked about. Retention rate is the percentage of first-year students that come back to that school for their second year. At WPI, we're really proud to report that that number is about 95%. I honestly think there's a variety of reasons that kind of feed into why that is the case here at WPI and why that number is so high. I give a lot of credit to our new student orientation program, or NSO for short. When our students move into campus, or just before that first semester starts, they are connected with minimally 3 people right off the bat. For example, they have a resident advisor that's living with them in the residence hall, kind of helping them navigate life on campus. They get a community advisor, which is an upperclassman, almost like an orientation leader, someone who's kind of there to help guide them, finding their classes, how to get involved on campus, how to change their meal plan, things of that nature. And there's also an academic advisor. So you're going to be matched with somebody to help you navigate that course selection process. So you're not doing anything by yourself. You've got a great support network of people here to help you along their way. And we do find that once students kind of get hooked into our community, they stick around and they continue to do that exploration that I mentioned. So you'll see up there, I mentioned a lot of those popular areas of study, of course, everything from engineering, life sciences, business, computer science, and actually humanities and arts is listed there as well. Fun fact, that's the largest department we have on campus because of the way we have our students satisfy that requirement. VJ is going to talk to you more about what that looks like, and it is pretty exciting. In this session, we're of course only talking to you virtually. If you are able to come to campus, we'd love to show you our state-of-the-art facilities and some of our classroom spaces. But for now, I'm actually going to turn things over to VJ to talk to you about the WPI plan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. So, just to give everyone kind of a brief introduction to what this plan really looks like and how it came about 50 years ago, our faculty and administration did a review of how we do education and learning as a whole. It is worth noting we are a STEM-based institution, and so a few things that we do are very rooted in the scientific method. And so, one of those things is always innovating upon success. We have a belief that nothing is ever truly perfect, and this applies to science, to engineering, but also to our education system. And so WPI is always trying to improve and build upon the foundation we've laid to make our students have the best chance of success post-college as well. So the very first thing that we do very uniquely is our academic calendar. We have what we call the term system. Each term is 7 weeks long, and we have 4 terms throughout the academic year. And in each term, you're taking 3 classes at a time. This means you're still taking around 6 classes in a semester, 12 classes per year. But it's worth noting that these classes done in 7 weeks are what we call unabridged. This means they cover the same amount of content in 7 weeks that you cover in 14 to 15 weeks at another institution or university. So this does mean they're technically accelerated. Now, I do always like to make mention that while they are technically accelerated classes, it's just a restructuring of how you're taking your time. So instead of having 4 or 5 or 6 classes to spend your 40 hours per week in school on, you're only spending that time on 3 of them. So you get to narrow the breadth of what you're studying and broaden the depth. These terms are also amazing because they align great with breaks. So we still have your traditional fall, winter, and spring break. Your fall and spring break around 7 to 10 days long, and your winter breaks around 3 to 4 weeks long. The only difference is here at WPI, they actually fall in between the terms, so we call them true breaks. And this is because as you're going into break, your last term will have ended, so all those classes will be done, and your next term will not yet have started. So you don't have any homework to work on, any exams to study for, any projects to work on as well during that break time. So you really can take it off to do whatever you need to do outside of school. If it's traveling the world, going home to see family and friends, or catching up on a Netflix series or 7 weeks of dirty laundry, it's really taking that time to do whatever you need to do for yourself. We also do have an optional e-term for our students. This is during the summer period where students can optionally take classes if they so choose. So if you're pursuing a bachelor's and a master's in 4 or 5 years, or looking to get a double major, major and minor, or just taking some classes for fun, the summer period's a really good time for that. A lot of these classes are offered asynchronously and virtually. So even if you're not right here on WPS campus for the summertime, you can still take advantage of these classes as well. We also do have some students who will choose to do internships and co-op experiences. During the summer period, it's a very popular time to complete these. Again, they're not mandatory to graduate because they have so much project-based learning built into the curriculum, but it is a great option that a lot of students choose to pursue. And we have some resources here on campus to talk about a little bit later that we have to help you find those opportunities if you're looking for them. The next thing we do differently is our non-punitive grading policy. And so punitive means to punish, so it's a non-punishing grading policy. We do this in 2 ways. The very first is that none of our classes have any pluses or minuses for letter grades you may receive. You just get the flat A, B, or C. The reason for this is as we were conducting our research for the WPI plan initially, we found that having these pluses or minuses actually encourages competitiveness amongst our students. And in a project-based institution, you don't want your students competing against each other, but instead working together. So by removing those pluses and minuses, we allow our students to focus more on the project at hand and the work at hand, and just know that the good grades are going to follow that work as well. The other unique part of our grading policy is the NR, or the no record. This is very unique to WPI. The A, the B, and the C are pretty standard across the board, but the NR is basically if you don't get a class, if you don't pass a class with a C or higher, you receive a no record, and it's exactly what it sounds like. That class won't be recorded in your academic transcript, it's not going to appear on your academic record, and it's not going to affect your GPA. So the only person that will know you took the class will be yourself and the professor who taught it. The reason for this, again, goes back to scientific method, where we believe that failure is just part of the process of growth. We don't want a stumble in your academic journey to be a stopping point for you, but instead a stepping stone towards success. So the NR is there to be a safety net for our students, allow them to try new and difficult things during time here at WPI. It also works great with our flexible curriculum, where here at WPI, none of the classes you take have any hard prerequisites. We do have what we call recommended backgrounds. This is information that we believe you should have going into the class to find success in it. We also understand that our students can learn outside the classroom, whether it's taking extracurricular activities like robotics clubs, or if you're doing something on your own, like a side project, or if you just want to learn information from the internet. The internet's a wonderful tool for our students to learn whatever they may like. And so we don't want to restrict students to taking classes just because they're prerequisite. We want them in the classroom engaged with the content that's going to be challenging and interesting to them. This also works great with the NR system, where if a student takes a class that may be a little bit too challenging, and a little bit too difficult, and maybe they overjudge themselves early on in the term, they get about halfway through and they realize, hey, I need to take a step back and come back to this course a later time. They can NR it and then come back to it at a later time when they're more prepared as well. This all works together to create an educational style where students are taking charge of their education, they're taking classes that they're truly interested in, and really making their education their own. The last thing that really makes WPI unique is our project-based curriculum. This is really something that sets us apart as every single class you take, you will have that lecture component where it's very theoretical, but you're also going to have some application case, whether it be labs you're working in, projects you're conducting, projects you're doing with groups, research you're conducting, or just taking whatever you're learning in the classroom and applying it in some real world sense. It really allows for our students to be hands-on with the work they're doing throughout their 4 years here. Beyond this, though, we also have four larger projects for our students to complete during their time here. The very first is called the Great Problem Seminar, or the GPS for short. And this is the very first large-scale project you get the opportunity to complete here at WPI. It's done in that first year, and it's very unique because it's actually 2 terms long, so a full semester. The reason for this is it's an introduction to college-level research and presentation, and how that should be done both here at WPI and just at college level in general. So the GPS is a great way for our students to really get engaged with that research from day one. The way it works is that you'll choose a topic to focus in, so whether it be like clean and renewable energy, if it's extinction events, mental health, education, and a whole bunch of other topics we add to this list every single year. You choose one of those topics to focus on, and the first term is a wide survey of that topic in the world today. The second term, you're taking the GPS, you actually choose a very specific problem you found within this larger area of study. So for my group, our wider topic was climate change and renewable energy, and our smaller problem we tried to solve was how to reduce the energy costs in Oahu, Hawaii. And so the key thing to note is we're not actually expecting you to solve this problem, but it's instead an exercise in how you might go about solving it if you had more time, more resources, and more experience. Now, I will say that some of these projects actually have gone on to make change. One that's very notable here on WPI's campus is the bike share program. There are a number of bikes you can actually borrow here on campus, and the whole process got started by a GPS a number of years ago as well. So they actually can have real world impact as well. But the GPS is a great way to onboard our students into that project-based learning environment. However, like I said earlier, it is optional. The reason for this is that other classes you may take in that first year have the ability to onboard you as well. So it's not necessarily essential to take it, but it's a really good way to kickstart that journey of project-based learning here at WPI. The next project on the list is Humanities and Arts. So here at WPI, we are maybe a STEM-based institution, but we also have put a heavy emphasis on learning more outside than just your engineering or your science classes. Our Humanities and Arts department, like Emily said, is the largest department here on campus, and that's for good reason. We have that Humanities and Art requirement of 6 classes you need to take during your time here, and there's a whole variety of ways that you can actually choose to complete it. We're not going to prescribe that you need to take 1 English course, 1 social science, 1 history course, or anything like that. We give our students the flexibility to really pick what they want through the breadth and the depth system. Your breadth is going to be 3 courses in any area of the humanities, whether it be philosophy, religion, languages, visual art, music, if it's creative writing, professional writing, and a whole bunch of other categories you can choose from. You choose 3 of them and take 1 class from each to get kind of a taste of what that area of study is like. You then get the opportunity to do your depth, which is going to be taking one of those areas of study and taking a few more classes in it, 3 to be total, to get a further understanding of what it might look like. So the last class in that Humanities and Arts depth is going to be your practicum or your seminar, and this is that big project at the end of your Humanities and Arts track. This will be some way for you to show off everything you learned in your depth, and you can do it a whole bunch of ways. I usually take all my examples from the music department, where I had one friend who did a project where they actually played a really hard recital on an instrument they've been playing their whole life in front of a small audience. I've had friends who actually will do research in that field, where I had a friend who did a research on the Beatles and their rise to fame. And I've also known people who will bring their major into the project. And I knew someone who made musical cubes, depending on their orientation to one another, they play different sounds and tunes. So you really can make this project your own and do it in a whole bunch of ways that are interesting to you. The next project on the list is the IQP, the Interactive Qualifying Project. And this project, again, is unique for a number of reasons. But the very first is interdisciplinary by nature. And this means that the peers you'll be working with, your 3 to 4 other students in the project, will be from all areas over campus, not just from your major itself. The project itself will also tend not to focus on your major, but instead helping a local community and helping to meet their needs. Now, that sounds very ambiguous. I'm actually going to come back to the IQP in just a second because there's so many more cool details to share. It has its own slide dedicated to it in just a second. But I'll slide right down to the MQP, or the Major Qualifying Project. And this is something you do in your final year here on campus, and as a way for you to kind of sum up everything you learned in your major area of study. So this is a year-long senior project where you conduct research on some topic of your choosing. These projects can be done a whole bunch of ways. One of them is by working with a company as a sponsor, where they'll provide both funding and direction. So we've had students work with companies as big as NASA and Tesla before, having their names on their final report. But we also had students who will work with local industries here in Worcester, or in a little bit broader in the New England area as well. We also have students who will go into professors' research labs, helping to advance and continue their research year to year. This is amazing for students, especially who are interested in things like R&D, who want to get an experience in what it's like jumping into a project that's been ongoing and putting their own spin, their own innovation on that project as well. We also have students who will start their own projects where maybe they've had an idea in their head for years, but they didn't have maybe the tools, the resources, or the peers yet to actually make it happen. The MQP is a great opportunity for that as well. Now, because every major varies so differently, these projects will look a little different depending on what major you're in, but just give a few examples. In aerospace engineering, I've seen students make plane wings that actually shift mid-flight to be more fuel efficient. In robotics engineering, I see swarm robotics projects every year where it's also little robots working together to achieve larger tasks. And in my own major, I've seen students use virtual reality for a whole bunch of applications, whether it be education, mental health, or just making games for fun. Now, what really makes a lot of these projects unique is also the opportunity to go abroad. For both the MQP, IQP, and the Humanities Capstone, you can choose to go off campus to complete this project. The IQP tends to be the most common, with about 90% of our students choosing to go off campus, and we have 50 plus project sites located all over the globe. The only continent we don't include right now is Antarctica, so anywhere else you want to go, you can probably get you pretty close nearby. This is a really cool opportunity for our students to kind of travel and see the world as they are completing this project. And like I said, the IQP is really unique because it's tackling this unstructured and non-major specific problem when instead you're helping the local community and helping to meet their needs. Now, what this local community may look like may differ, whether it be a company, if it's a nonprofit, if it's a university in the area, a museum, and a whole bunch of other possibilities. Some part of that community will come to WPI and say, hey, we're working on this project and we'd love to have some WPI students come in and give us a new and unique perspective on how we might go about solving it. The students will work very closely with that sponsor for their 7 weeks while they're there, and they'll provide both deliverables and research to that sponsor by the end of the project. In this way, the sponsor acts almost like an employer where they're giving you instructions and guidance and feedback on the work you're doing throughout your time there. It also is a 3-course equivalence. So this means that when you're on the IQP, you're only working on that project. You're not taking other classes in another country. You're not trying to do extra work, extra homework on top of it. So it almost functions more like an internship where you're working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday on this project, and you have the weekends and the afternoons off to really explore the location you're in. Now, the last thing that WPI does is really cool with the IQP is the global scholarship. We recognize that going abroad can be an expensive endeavor. We want to make sure that all our students who want to go abroad can get the opportunity to go where they want to go. And so to that end, the Global Scholarship is given to every single student that attends WPI. This is up to $5,000 that goes towards your IQP experience to make it affordable and accessible for everyone as well. The IQP really is one of the coolest parts of WPI. It teaches you a whole bunch about soft skills that may not be as easy to learn here on campus, but gives you a lot of really, really cool experience outside of your own major specific courses as well. My project was in Berlin, and we were studying how urban beekeepers are impacted by climate change and how you can mitigate those impacts as well. But I've had friends who work in museums and help trying to drive up the revenue and attendance rate of museums. I've had friends who will travel the world helping with like water irrigation systems. And I've also had friends who will travel the world helping with medical systems and helping with setting up those organizations as well. So there's a lot of really cool ways for students to complete these projects, and gives you a lot of really cool relevant experience as well. But one thing that really does help set our students apart is these projects that we're doing, not just the IQP, but your MQP, your Humanities Capstone, all the projects you're doing in your everyday classes. They're teaching you not just how to be a good engineer, how to be a good scientist, but they're also teaching you all the soft skills you may need. So how do I work in teams effectively? How do I be a leader? How do I build presentation skills, especially for people who may not be experts in what I'm talking about? How do I work with clients and sponsors? All these are things that students here at WPI learn throughout their time here in the projects that they're completing. But it's also more than that. Our students also have the opportunity to complete some more real world experience things and things like professional development, so doing internships and co-ops, but also conducting research here on campus, which Emily will talk more about.
Awesome. Thanks, VJ. So yeah, one of the cool things, as you heard VJ talking about all the different opportunities our students have to get involved with research, to jump in and do some project-based problem solving. It's a wonderful opportunity. WPI was recently recognized and labeled as an R1 institution, which we're really excited about. There's so many different opportunities for research, whether you're going to a conference, doing publications and journals with some of our faculty members. There's just lots of opportunities for our students to get involved, so much so that we actually received an award for it back in 2023. So we're really excited about the things our students are doing, and we encourage our students to kind of seek those things out, see what professors are researching, see what you're interested in, find a connection here, and we've got some resources for you to pursue. Also, another wonderful resource that we have here at WPI is our career development center. So oftentimes families will ask, okay, this is great. There's all wonderful things at WPI, but what happens after they leave you? What happens when they graduate and they move on? Where do they end up? And so our CDC does some great things for our students. First and foremost, they offer two large-scale career fairs, usually one in the fall and one in the spring, where companies are coming to WPI to recruit our students. And the biggest question I get is, what's the program that's attracting these family or these employers to come to WPI? What are they recruiting for? And it's not actually a specific program or department, but it's actually the WPI plan that you heard VJ talking about. They understand the term system. They know that if they have 6 or 7 weeks to solve a problem, great, ask a WPI student because they're used to working in those time frames due to the term system. They know the non-punitive grading policy. They understand the collaboration and the group work. They know that they can stop a WPI student at any point in their career and say, hey, tell me about a time you were working on a problem and you hit an obstacle, you had to pivot, something changed, or it didn't go well, you failed, and you needed to figure out how to redo it for next time, right? You do so many projects, as VJ mentioned, there's a few heavy hitters, but you do so many of them throughout your time here that it's almost inevitable that some of them aren't going to be successful, and that's where you're going to do a lot of that learning, which is a wonderful thing. So the career fairs are certainly huge. They offer a lot of other resources for our students. One thing I do like to recommend for families as they're looking at WPI and learning more information, our CDC compiles what we call the career outcomes data, right? So 6 months after graduation, they're polling our graduates, all the undergrads, the graduates, the PhD students to say, hey, where are you? Where are you working? What higher degrees are you seeking? Where are you going? Give us this information. They compile all the data and they put it onto a dashboard that lives on our website that you can find, and you can kind of scroll through and see all of the data for yourself. You can look at it as a large class data, like class of 2024, for example, is published up there right now, or you could search through it by specific major. For example, maybe VJ is curious about interactive media and game design students and where they are working or where they went on. You can scroll through and filter out by major if there's something specific you're looking for. And as you do that, you're going to start to notice a variety of majors are being hired by the same companies because there's all these shared skills that our students have, and there's so much intersectionality with what they're studying here at WPI. It's really exciting. Anyways, I always like to recommend that as a fantastic rabbit hole for families to go down if you're looking to learn more. Let's switch gears at this point and talk a little bit more about campus life. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we'd love to have you on campus for an actual tour, but we do offer virtual tours as well, so we can showcase some of this information to you. We are a residential campus. We do guarantee housing for our first year students, so that's a wonderful thing. After your first year, if you want to live on campus, you are welcome to do that. We also have a percentage of our students who choose to move off campus. Because of where we're located in Worcester, we're lucky that there is an option for students to do that. So that's a good thing to be aware of. All of our residence halls can be found on our website, and you can actually scroll through each of them and look at photographs of each of them to visit them on your own virtually. We also have a number of different dining facilities on campus, lots of different food options for our students. And also importantly, we have a lot of resources for our students, whether you need academic support, whether you need counseling support, whether you want to go to our Center for Wellbeing and just figure out how to balance work and school and life and all of these different things. We have a lot of support services here at WPI to help our students be successful. And I think that's one thing that I really like to highlight in this slideshow because it's a really important thing for our students to know when you get here, there's going to be supports in place to help you find that success. And of course, there's a lot of things to do outside of the school classroom. So to talk more about campus life, because he was so involved as a student while he was here, I'm going to actually pass it back to VJ.
Yeah. And so we have a bunch of things to do here on campus. I truly do believe there's a place for everyone and at least one or two or even more clubs here on campus. Just to start with sports because it's usually easiest to kind of define. We are a Division III NCAA school, so we have 10 men's and 10 women's varsity teams. So if you're looking to continue that varsity experience, you can definitely do that here. We also have a number of club sports as well. These are great for students who really love that competitive experience of playing against other schools, and maybe don't want the commitment level of having to practice every day for it as well. So we also have some more diversity in club sports. So we have things like rock climbing, we have things like fencing and ultimate frisbee offered there as well, if students are interested. Intramural sports are also kind of one of the backbones of the student culture here on campus. So these are where you play on a WPI team with WPI students against other WPI students. And so these are some sports we offer throughout the year. We have basketball, soccer, flag football, and volleyball. All a really, really good time to play with, even if you're not very good at the sport. I know I'm not. I always have a great time doing it with my friends. Outside of sports, though, we also have a number of offerings within the outer, in other sort of areas of interest in clubs. Professional development is very big on campus, and almost every single major has a professional development club associated with it. These are a great place to get connected with upperclassmen from pretty much day one here on campus. We also have some students who will choose to join cultural clubs, and so we have cultural clubs for almost every single major across campus as well. These are a great opportunity for our students to engage with other people for traditions and holidays they may celebrate, but also to learn about new traditions and holidays as well, which is really, really cool. I think the area we shine the most in, though, is with niche interest groups. These are clubs founded around kind of weird or wacky ideas that really do make WPI shine. Some of the ones I always like to shout out first and foremost is our Lego Club. They Lego for 6 hours every Sunday. They make these really, really cool dioramas. We actually have a few on display here on campus, so if you ever get a tour, I won't tell you what it is, but I will let you find it if you do come to campus. You will definitely know it when you see it. We also have our two cheese clubs here on campus. We have one for making cheese and one for eating cheese. The one that makes cheese is called Gompy's Goat Cheese. You can actually buy it in local grocery stores, and if I do say so myself, it is very, very tasty. And then my favorite club to support that I've never been a member of is the Underwater Hockey Club. It's the coolest sport you've never heard of. Uh, Basically, all you do is drop a weighted puck to the bottom of a pool, and everyone gets a stick and a snorkel, and they push it from one side to the other. It is the coolest sport to play and the hardest one to watch, but overall, a really, really good time. The best part is if you come to WPI and you're like, hey, my club isn't quite here yet. I really want to make this club here on campus. You can also definitely do that. One of my friends, Aiden, wanted to create a club about the making, brewing, and history of tea. And we all looked at him and said, Aiden, you're kind of crazy for that, but we'll sign your petition, get you off the races. And we all expected him to graduate from WPI with his tea club being around 20 or 30 people who are just very invested in tea. But little did we know that his club was going to be one of the largest ones here on campus by the time we graduated, with over 200 members getting together to just drink tea and talk about its history. So this is all to say there really is a club here for everyone. But if you do get here and you find, hey, the interest I really want to share with the world isn't quite here yet, you can also totally make your own as well. But that's a bunch of what to do here in the city of Worcester. Pass it back off to Emily to talk more about, or we'll talk more about the great city of Worcester overall.
Awesome. Thanks, VJ. Yeah, so Worcester, it's in our name. It's where we are, and I love this slide to kind of give you a little bit of perspective on where. So the center of that picture where you see all the brick buildings, that's our main campus here at WPI. That's where we're sitting right now, and you can see downtown Worcester is just a few blocks away. So what's nice is we have kind of that residential campus feel. There's no city street that cuts through our campus, but we definitely have access to downtown, and our students are certainly able to take advantage of that. We are the second largest city in New England. Not a lot of people know. That's a fun fact. We're very centrally located, and we share the city of Worcester with a number of area colleges, which is great because as a college student, there's going to be a lot more college students that you're going to run into in and around the city of Worcester. When our visitors come, if you are able to come to campus and visit, we always tell you to ask your tour guides what's their favorite thing to do in Worcester. You will most likely get some restaurant recommendations because we love to eat. Worcester's a big foodie town. There's a lot to do from going to see the Worcester Red Sox at Polar Park to going to see a show at the Hanover Theater to going 2 blocks down the street to see a Worcester Art Museum display with free with your WPI ID. So lots to do. Centrally located, as I mentioned, if you're coming from a distance, we are about an hour outside of Boston, an hour outside of Providence, Rhode Island, and about an hour outside of Hartford, Connecticut. If you're looking for a major airport, we have 15 minutes from a local regional Worcester airport here in town. We are also less than a mile away from Union Station, which is the main kind of bus and train transportation hub here in downtown Worcester as well. So very centrally located, really easy to access everything that you're looking for, and lots to do. So we always encourage our visitors to ask us what our favorite part of Worcester is, because you'll definitely get a lot of suggestions. With the last few minutes remaining, I just want to take some time to go over some of the application information with you, because you're probably a prospective student, whether you're in high school or you're looking to transfer. Let's go through some of that information. Good tip, most of this information can be found on our website, which is always the most up-to-date and accurate place to find information. But let's start with first-year students, and we'll talk about those application options. You'll notice that we have both early decision and early action. So let me just first clarify the difference between those two. Remember that early decision is a binding agreement. Early action is non-binding. So what does that mean? If you are looking at early decision, likely you have found your academic programs here at WPI. Socially, you have found a bunch of groups that you want to connect with. And financially, you know you and your family are going to make this work no matter what. If you apply early decision and you're admitted, that's that commitment. The binding agreement says you're committed to WPI and you are coming, which is a wonderful thing. If you're looking for early action non-binding, that's usually for somebody who says, hey, I love the academic programs here at WPI, absolutely have found what I'm interested in. Socially, I'd love to be in part of the Cheese Club or the Underwater Hockey Club. And financially, I want to shop around. I want to see where else I've gotten admitted. I want to do some cross comparing and understand what's the best fit for me academically, socially, and financially. If you apply early action and you're admitted, that's great, but you have until May 1 to let us know what you want to do. So those are the biggest difference, binding versus non-binding. As you can see, we have a couple of different application deadline options. Of course, we have regular decision as well, which is a non-binding decision as well. So letting us know by May 1. You pick the decision that works the best for you. I will be honest and tell you, I've been in WPI for 8 years, and I would say our most popular option is that early action round 1, November 1st deadline. Usually north of 50% of our applicant pool comes in at that deadline. I think it's popular because it is a non-binding decision, so students can get their decision a little bit earlier in the process, but still have all that time on the back end to make those final decisions about where they want to go to school. So all things to think about. There's a lot there because we hope you find the one that fits best for you. In terms of the application requirements themselves, there's a couple of different things we're looking for. We start with our common application, so that's good to know. We are on the common application, which is that application that's used by a number of institutions across the country where you can kind of fill out one and submit to multiple schools. In the common app, we're obviously going to learn your name and where you live and where you go to high school, but more importantly, we're going to read your personal essay. Personal essay is a great way for us to hear your voice and learn something about you that maybe we're not going to find out any other way in the application. If you're a rising junior, a rising senior, write this summer before your senior year. Write this essay and have it all done and ready to go by the time your fall of your senior year comes around. You can thank me later. That's just a good way to stay organized. Don't overthink it. The essay is just a great way for you to share something with us, and we're going to learn about you through it. So it's a wonderful thing to think about. We're also going to look for your high school transcript. Obviously important to see your academic context. So we look at you within the context of your high school. Everyone tuning into this is probably going to a different high school. Maybe you go to a public high school or a private high school or a voc tech or your home school or you go to international school. There's all kinds of different high schools. Some high schools offer 36 AP courses and international baccalaureate diploma program. Some high schools have 5 honors courses. Every high school is different, so context of high school is very important, and you can see why. We look at you within the context of your school. What types of classes are you taking? What are you able to take? What do you have access to take? And how are you performing in those courses? We're also going to ask for 2 letters of recommendation. We want one from your school counselor and one from an academic teacher. These letters of recommendation are a great kind of third-party resource for us to learn more about who you are as a member of the classroom or as a member of your school community, people who know you and can speak to us about who you are. That's wonderful. And the last thing we do have up there is we are a test optional institution. So test optional is exactly what it sounds like. It means if you would like to submit a data point, an SAT or an ACT score, and you feel this data point is very important in showcasing what you can do as a student, and you want to submit your score, you are welcome to do that. If you do not think that that data point is important and can showcase what you can do as a student and represents your abilities in the classroom, you do not have to submit that score. It really is optional, and it's up to the student to decide what you would like to do with it. On the transfer side of things, you'll see a little different. We actually have our own application for our transfer students. We are, of course, looking for college transcripts, final high school transcripts, and again, there is a letter of recommendation option in there as well. Transfer is a little different. We have more of a rolling admissions option there, and we do have spring and fall availabilities for our students there. Again, for any more information on any of this, please feel free to go to our website. But in general, it's really good to know that we are holistically looking at each application that comes through our queues, if you will. And so we're looking for everything, and we're pulling all the information out of the pieces I just mentioned to you. Obviously, as a STEM institution, math and science are important to us. And specifically, I'm going to pick on math for just a second. At WPI, the lowest math class that we have is a Calculus 1. So what does that mean? It means that everybody's got to be able to jump into Calc 1 day 1 of their freshman year, if not place out of it, okay? So how can you jump into it? Well, you've got to make sure you've satisfied up through pre-calculus in your senior year at your high school. Every high school calls pre-calculus something different, so just make sure you're taking the right pre-calculus class. If you've taken pre-calculus as a sophomore or a junior and you moved on to a calc or an advanced calc class, that is fine. We just want to make sure our students can start right in the door at Calculus 1, if not place above that, okay? Average school rank, take that with a grain of salt because a lot of high schools don't rank their schools anymore. And then you'll see GPAs listed there. For first-year students, and also this is true for transfers, We don't recalculate GPAs on a transcript. We take what your school gives us. So this is kind of a hard number to look at. Is it weighted? Is it unweighted? Is it on a 4.0 scale? Is it on a 6.0 scale? Every high school is different, so we don't recalculate. We take what your school gives us, which is why context of high school is really important. So 3.92, is that weighted or unweighted? Well, it's an average of all the ones that we've inputted, but we don't recalculate. So what I can tell you is we love to see A's. B's are great too, but also what types of coursework are you taking? Did you challenge yourself? Did you stretch for the honors or the AP courses that may have been available to you? What does that look like? Okay. But in addition to academics, we want to make sure you're academically prepared, of course. But there's a lot of other pieces that we're looking at. As you heard VJ talking to you about the plan, you heard group projects, project-based learning. There's group projects in almost every course. Are you a student who likes to work in groups? That's an important component of what we're doing here. Do you like to collaborate? Are you a problem solver? Are you somebody who loves to work kind of outside of your comfort zone and trying new things and thinking outside the box? Even for your course selection or your IQP destination, there's a lot of stuff. Humanities and arts, you're choosing a lot of your own adventure, if you will. And are you somebody who's comfortable kind of charting your own course as you go throughout your degree program? We hope so, because that's what we're going to let you do when you get here on campus. So these are all good things to be aware of. And then just to touch on scholarships and financial aid, this is very important information. You can see here about 97% of our students receive some form of financial assistance, whether it's merit-based or need-based or some combination thereof. Let me start with merit scholarship and just let you know, any of our student applicants, whether you are a first-year student, a transfer student, early decision, early action, you're automatically considered for merit scholarship. You go through the review process. If you are admitted, your acceptance letter will tell you what, if any merit scholarship you've qualified for right there in your acceptance letter. And you get to hold on to that for the up to 4 years that you're here as a student. One special note I want to make about merit scholarship, it's all an automatic consideration, nothing special you have to do. If you are an early decision applicant and you are admitted, there's a guaranteed minimum $20,000 scholarship that goes along with it. Doesn't mean you can't qualify for that same scholarship as an early action student, please note. But if it's early decision and you've been admitted, it's a guaranteed scholarship. If it's early action, it's not guaranteed, but you still would be considered for it. So that's just a good point to know. Why do we do that? Early decision is a commitment. If you are going to commit to us, we want to commit to you as well. And that's why we guarantee that scholarship. For transfer students, you guys are also included in merit scholarship consideration. Any merit scholarship you get would be, it is up to 4 years. You probably wouldn't be here for 4 years depending on how many credits you transfer in with. On the need-based side of things, we do ask our students to complete the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, and the CSS profile. Just remember, the FAFSA is the form that's going to show us what types of federal money you might qualify for. CSS profile, we ask our students to fill that out. We have institutional money we want to award out, and in order to do that, we've got to collect additional information from you. More information can be found on our website. The only other thing I want to say here about scholarships, if you happen to be a student who is part of a FIRST or VEX Robotics Club, there are separate FIRST and VEX Robotics scholarships that have their own application attached to them. More information about that on our website. Those are not automatic considerations because they have their own application. Outside of that, everything's an automatic consideration. And just because it's good to know, we offer summer programs here at WPI. If you are in high school, as you can see, a rising 9th, 10th, 11th, or even a rising senior, we have different programs for our students to take advantage of. If you want to learn more about STEM, if you want to live on campus for a couple of weeks in the summer, we'd encourage you to explore these opportunities. There is no requirement. You can do them anywhere. I know WPI is one of many schools that has these offerings. However, if you are a student who really does want to dig a little bit deeper into a specific area of STEM, summer programs are a great opportunity to do that, to kind of decide if that's the direction you want to go when you go to school. And it also gives you a chance to spend some time on a college campus, which can also be fun. That said, I think we have finished all of the information that we wanted to cover with you today in just a little bit more than 45 minutes. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today, to view this video. If you have any questions, I want to encourage you to reach out to our office. You can find us on our website, wpi.edu. Reach out by calling, emailing. We are always around to help answer questions. And certainly, if you do get a chance to come visit us in person, all the information for visiting is also on our website as well. Thank you so much, and best of luck with all of your college search endeavors.